Thank you for the wonderful introduction, Xin. Well, it's very interesting to see the earlier discussion and the speeches being presented on the stage. One could see very clearly that communication and understanding is certainly comes both ways. It's a two-way street, as expressed in the very diverse views and opinions earlier by the speakers from different media organizations. And therefore, as the moderator for the very first panel today, I hope we could really have some genuine understanding through real communications by the frank discussions. My honor to host the first panel. The panel is about we media. Earlier, my colleague has briefly introduced to you the content of the discussion. But I do have some questions before we dug into the real debate. That is, whether we have already taken our position when we are saying we media versus the traditional media. I guess the panelists will have their insights on all of these issues. So it is my great honor, thank you very much, to introduce to the stage our panelists. My great honor to introduce Tang Yi, Deputy Director of CCTV News Media Department of CCTV. 中央广电总台新闻中心新媒体编辑部副主任唐怡，有请。Alexei Nikolov， 就按照这个顺序来做。Managing Editor of RT Russia Today， 今日俄罗斯电视台总编 Alexei Nikolov。Please have a seat. And Sally Busby，Senior Vice President and Executive Editor of Associated Press， 美联社高级副总裁 Sally Busby 女士，欢迎，有请。What a gentleman you're already taking on the side. Please, Sally, have a seat. 姜玉森 CEO of Peer Video， 梨视频总监蒋玉森先生，您好，欢迎。Last but not least, Yu Qi，General Manager of Media Relationship Department of Weibo， 新浪微博媒体事业部总经理于琦女士，有请。I hope you have all simultaneous translation device on your seat. Do you have? 好，我们还需要还需要一个翻译耳机。Do you have 2个翻译耳机？请我们相关的同事送上来。2个翻译耳机，好，这位女士以及那一位，谢谢。We media， 根据我们这个题目的介绍 ，according to the topic interpretation, those are some of the players who are non-professionals, singularly or in small groups, produce huge amounts of content, are crowding out professional and legacy players in popularity in China and overseas. So how does this impact the news business, and what can be done to improve the quality? But I have to ask the very first question. 我必须要问出这个问题哈，因为这个题目设置非常有趣。它似乎把在座的各位
It seems that by we media， 但感觉呢，通过
which is we media versus all of you guys sitting on the stage. But my question to all of you is whether it is a competition or it is a cooperation. 到底是合作还是竞争？唐怡。You are my colleague, so you need to speak first in order to start a conversation. Ms. Tang.
我觉得其实这是一种竞争。
I think it's both competition and a incentive for us from the traditional media sector to get better. It's an opportunity in a way. The first question is why has there being the emergence of a we media and why the pressure on us as a traditional journalist, I think we are now at a point where users of social media have become very, very strong, and by them becoming strong, I mean in the past, the traffic is mainly guided by professional media organizations, but now with the emergence of social media, we have now come to an age when where you get to be the content distributor, set it.
Yeah, but the question is Donald Trump a we media? Is many of our friends are we media? Are the pop stars we media? Is Mr. Jiang, who is taking pictures of all of us right now and putting on his social media later, a we media? Who are the we media and who are we actually, Sally?
Well, I think it also includes people who are in remote corners of the world or in places where news happens unexpectedly and they see things, they are eyewitnesses, they do sort of reporting that actually in some ways extends the network of reporting and information that we can bring into our organization. So I think there is a lot of opportunity for coordination, to answer your question, and it brings, I would say, much energy to what you might think of as traditional or professional or legacy media, whatever
Are
you
you
want to call
being
it.
diplomatic, Sally?
Well, I do think, so I would say that there's definitely some threats from it also. You know, one of the things that is so interesting to me is that young people don't always know the brand names or the legacies that we embody. And some of it is our responsibility to say to them that there's no real reason that you need to respect the name of the Associated Press or of AFP, but if you understand some of the professionalism that goes into the journalism, perhaps the factual vetting of user-generated content to make sure it's real. We have all run into things that, here's some video from a Haiti earthquake. Oh, guess what? This isn't from a Haiti earthquake. This is from an earthquake that happened 6 years before that. So I try to focus on the strengths that we bring to this conversation. If we are spending time, as we are, trying to authenticate and make sure that something like user-generated content or that reports are out there are actually accurate and fact-based and not fake, and we are also trying to ensure that we know sort of the provenance of information. Who actually took this video? Where was it really geographically located from? And do we have the rights to use it? There's still quite a lot of value, I think, in the world to bringing those values to we media.
Yu Qi might not necessarily agree with you. She's coming from a very different world, Sally, compared to you and Miss Tang. I mean, she started right there in the social media from day one when she started to work. So she might have very different opinions coming to you, what you call quote-unquote legacy and the traditional professional media. 于其你怎么看刚才前面两位嘉宾他们所表达的所谓 we media 和 media 之间的关系？
我来自微博，大家都知道。
Traditional media or legacy media versus we media. I came from we media, as you probably know. With the exception, there are 55 major media organizations on the Weibo platform, with the exception of two. All the other 53 are considered we media, and I think in a way we do agree with what has been said in the sense that the content generated by the we media has been increasing. But on the other hand, now we at Sino Weibo still prioritize the content generated by traditional media organizations before we move on to self-media, because we need to make sure that all the content is fact-based, all the content is authentic. But of course, I understand that 92% of the Weibo users access the content through cell phones, which means as an eyewitness, they probably are there as an eyewitness earlier than the reporters. But as has been pointed out, some of the content has not been authenticated by professional media reporters, which means we can't really take it for granted that the content they provide is by definition real. So I think where the professional media has an advantage in is the ability to verify the information. So I think this is one of our great advantage. I'd like to ask our employee to bring on another extra set of simultaneous integration receiver. 但是您
Peer video gonna use it. 如果你不用的话，离视频人家可能会用，是不是？
Use it 是这样吗？
对我们来讲，其实我觉得现在这个时代是这样的，就是我觉得在座的各位可能大家都是
age where everybody can potentially be we media because we have our own social media account. Everybody is potentially an informational content provider. So as a legacy media professionals, we need to embrace this trend. From our perspective at Pair Video, I think we live in the same ecosystem as all content producers because we've got 80,000 content providers all across the world who work with us on a regular basis. As has been pointed out, our role here is mainly to authenticate the information, and all the video all the providers must be authenticated. We need to understand if they are professionally trained, if their judgment is biased, or if they have the ability to produce the right content. And secondly, we also need to authenticate what they created. In Chongqing, we've got a large center whose main responsibility is to make sure that all the video that we receive is authenticated. We tend to look for evidence. And then how do you collect evidence? 是和 Sally 比对笔记吗？你怎么去验证呢？ As I have been pointed out, there are a lot of technological means that we can employ. Take for instance, whether we can use a spectroscopy to identify if the video is when the video was generated. Is it really generated this year or was it generated last year? And secondly, we have also got dedicated employees to investigate into it, whether it's through emails or through phone calls. Take for instance, suppose we have received a phone call, about the report of this event, saying that a certain guest has been interviewed, then we will actually get in touch with that guest. In fact, that created a lot of workload for us, but that also increased our credibility as a platform, because so far we have released over 400,000 videos, all of which have been authenticated. Then, of course, there's always the question as to how do we increase traffic by accelerating this process of video uploading. Our productive activity on average is still around 1,000 pieces every day. That is mainly because we have to authenticate everything. 非常感谢。我本来也想。
Fascinating, and I think that the challenges of authentication, I think we all need to be honest with ourselves, are going to get much more difficult as technology improves. And so one of the things, it is going to be easier to create fake content going forward. I think we're already seeing that, and I think that there are a lot of technological changes in the world that are going to present great challenges to news organizations or media organizations that care about authenticity and care about facts. We have been playing around a little bit, referencing some of the earlier keynotes, with trying to figure out the role of artificial intelligence and how that is going to help us. And it is actually, the quality of this work is enormously important. And we have had a couple experiments going with some of the technology companies in the West, Google and some others, to try to see if there are ways to harness things like big databases, big chunks of data, the tools of artificial intelligence to help with authentication.
比如说，其实像我们在那个进入到央视系统的时候
Well, once we get things into the CCTV network, because my responsibility is with the CCTV, so we are trying to engage more we media professionals, because no matter how good we are as a professional reporters, I mean, the timeliness is always going to be somewhat of a question mark compared to the eyewitness who identify themselves as we media. And in a way, So there are tools we can use, for instance, tools to indicate that you are actually there when this when the event happened, and also technology that only allows on-site filming that forbids editing, but more importantly, professional media organizations, being who we are, need to have the capability to determine if something that we have received from media is real, but in a way, if it is believable to a large extent, that also depends on how experienced we are, and I think that can be a very valuable asset. 但是呢，在这里面是有一定的竞争关系的，主要就是。
So there's a lot of competitions among media organizations, whether it's peer video, or whether it's AP or CCTV. Well, Xinlang is waiting for CCTV to verify it. There is a lot of competition among the three players like you. I'll go to you later, my friend. But how do you see this competition? What is the real essence of this competition? Since you all talk about accuracy, since you all talk about the verification, since you all talk about cooperation. Right? Sally, you want to go first? Briefly.
I would say that one of the things that is, and you mean the competition between what we are versus up-and-coming organizations, that sort of thing? Oh, well, I mean, I don't know that this has to be a competition. I think that the folks in the world who have the same values of accuracy and credibility share.
But time is
very common basis.
About time is a big competition when it comes to news. Yes, indeed.
I would say that the tools that we're talking about using artificial intelligence are going to be helpful there. But I also think that you know, young people clearly value speed. There is no question about that, and that is an enormously important thing for many of us, all of us. But they also do value some other things. They value independence. They value transparency. And so one of the things that I think has been very interesting for what you might call legacy media organizations is if we do our work a little bit more and we talk about the processes and the intellectual endeavor that we go through to authenticate something, that has some attraction to young people who are interested in this world of fast information.
Yuqi, you want to respond?
我想说，在新媒体，
I think for we media, especially on social media, young people tend to accept a piece of news if it's timely and if it's professional, and most importantly, whether it caused a lot of discussion on the social media. And if you can engage the users, you can engage audience and create a lot of interaction between the media content provider and the users and the audience, then it's quite a success. Language is traditional, so you have to find a way to make use of the language, especially find a new way to engage the users. For example, CCTV News will also sometimes engage audience, and for new media, if you take a look at all the outperforming new media players, you will see they are all very good in interaction. To follow up on that, when we are engaged in new media business, we have to understand, even though we are a traditional media, we have new ways to make communications. Before, it was a program showing on the television and the audience will just watch, but now they can repost, they can give us likes, they can give us thumb ups, they can comment on the news, on the content. For example, today's forum and summit is live broadcasted to a lot of audience in China, and they can repost the address of the online streaming. So it's like a new way of dissemination, new way of communication. This is a new approach we can adopt today. Well, it's a very good call, very good call. 是的，这是非常好的一个倡议。那现在我要问一下 Nicola。
your other panelists when they are coming into already a fierceful discussion about the nature of we media vis-a-vis the so-called traditional media, but certainly in transformation. Your take, competition, cooperation.
Well, it's neither. It should be cooperation, and that's what we're trying to do, but we want the cooperation to be fair, and then it has to be, I'm fine with the competition, but again, I want the competition to be fair. I mean, if we're playing football, we want the opponent to play by the rules of football, not by the plays of rugby. If we as the traditional media, we've been doing that for more than 500 years. We have a certain set of rules, we have a certain set of responsibilities. Let's put it this way, we are the traditional milkman who brings your essential food in the morning. Now there comes a person who says, no, I will deliver it faster, which is fine. He said, yeah, but I'm not going to deliver milk. I will deliver chewing gum and junk food, but I will do it faster. Is this competition? Well, to me, no.
Wait. There are a lot of we media person, I think, sitting in the audience. They might stand up right now or walk out of the room when you're saying that. Why are you accusing them of not necessarily following the rule? They could also say, well, you have very different editorial policy with Russia Today as well, compared to, let's say, my colleague with CCTV or my colleague with AP or maybe other media organizations. So, does it really matter, as you say, the rules? And what are the rules to you?
While we working in the media, we may be very different. That's exactly true. But we all work by the law. There's strict laws that we have to obey. We have national regulators, and some of them are very strict. And we have a certain set of standards, like it or not, but we have to follow them. We are in competition, no question about that. I'm not going to compete with my colleague from our agency, Raptly, which is their colleagues, the information agency. I'm sure they know better about China. I'm sure Sully knows many things much better about the US, and we know many things better about Russia. Internationally, we're in competition, but we play by the rules of football. And now you have people who are just fine, but they play by the rules of rugby.
Really? Yuqi, I have to ask you. And also, Yu Sen, you have to respond as well. He is saying that you are playing the rules of the rugby, while he is playing by the rules of soccer. Is it really true? 你可不要提前点头啊！
我是觉得他刚讲的有一定道理的。确实，大家不是在一个同等的一个竞争的一个起跑线上。但是我觉得你可能面对这样的一个时代的时候，你可能要主动的去拥抱这些变化，而且要适应这种变化。另外，你如果我们传统媒体人有一个很大的专业能力，刚才大家都在讲专业很重要。但专业可以改变和引领这些东西。我觉得改变和引领是非常重要的。你可能改变自媒体的一个你报道的方式。刚才于切在讲，自媒体有很多好的表达方式，那这些是需要我们去接受和去适应的。但如果它有一些可能非常哗众取宠的、不客观、不真实的报道。
Adopts a lot of way to please people. Well, it's way too professional, too theoretical. 讲得太理论化了，在。
Personal example and help us to understand what exactly is going on. I mean, you used to be a journalist, right? On the ground. 你自己本身就是做记者的，南方系的啊。我们看到好多南方系的现在都进入到了视频领域啊，新媒体啊。Actually, it's a big cultural change for you too. 大的文化变化对你来说也是一样。
也是文化的变化。当你说到
Your thought.
怎么回应？你怎么看？
我觉得从个人的经历来讲
I think based on my personal experience, I did witness the change. And yesterday in the evening, I was friends. We talked about the past decade, the transformation, the changes. We have been through the prime years of traditional media, but we now see the period time of transformation or shift of business model of traditional media. But we all arrive at the same conclusion that it still requires professionalism in terms of your attitude, in terms of your capability for you to run we media business to run we media business.
说着容易，做着难。
Easy to
It's
say.
so much easier said than done, isn't it? When you have clear rules, they would say.
如果说规则都非常清楚。
From Mr. Nikolov, when you have clear rules for so-called traditional media or traditional media in transition, they have to follow all the rules. But the so-called we media, there's not necessarily very clear rules to follow, but rather traditional media or traditional media in transition have to verify what they provide. But there's a notion that is the media is going out there, or you're still wearing. Of course, we impact, but still, that is a competition as well.
I mean, you talk about concrete examples.
Exactly.
So, I mean, there's obviously some shaking out that is going to happen over time in the environment. One of the things that I hold on to is I remember a moment in time when a very young person, we were talking to some customers in the room who was a very young side, and this person didn't really know the Associated Press or statement, but they said to me that on their social media account, and this was a long time ago, so I don't know, I guess it was like something like, you know, it was quite a while ago, maybe it was pre-media, maybe it was on digital or something like that. They kept hearing that Michael Jackson had died, and they weren't sure if it was true or not. And when he said that Michael Jackson had died, they understood that, in fact, Michael Jackson actually died. It wasn't just rumor. Michael Jackson, you actually care whether he's or whether he's dead. And those aren't ambiguous. He is either alive, dead. Clear delineation. And I think that young people are going to understand this over time. Okay? If there is a said there's a big train accident downtown, and there's not a big train accident downtown,
Right?
over time they will learn to go to sources of information that are accurate.
But Alexei, you know, they say things are just different now. Well, maybe when Michael Jackson, someone who we really love as an entertainer, passed away, people are still looking at the AP. But maybe years has gone, and therefore people looking at a very different logic. They say, we media, Alexei, the issue is about getting your message out first, then editing later, which means you get whatever the content out there, and people got to know, and then people got second round and say, oh, that's fake. So it seems that there are different editorial process compared to, let's say, how we, CGTN, CCTV, AP, operates, and probably RT too. So how do you see that kinds of discussion, that there's a very different process of editing, and it's participatory journalism among the public that is actually editing the so-called we media story? Alexei.
No, I agree with Sally. Michael Jackson is either dead or alive.
Yes.
And that's the basic of news. That's what news were, the media were created on more than 500 years ago, when in Venice people started printing their first gazettas, selling it for a small coin called gazzetta. The difference was you were getting verified news. You were getting news someone was accountable for. And that was important for Venice because they were the republic of merchants. What happened is the world. Now we live in the virtual world. But the same process is happening again. People learn to tell the difference between the market rumor. And that's, with all respect to my friends from social media, that's exactly what they're doing. And that's fine. Whoever wants market rumor, go to social media. If they want the news, they go to the news organizations who are responsible for what they do. This is just the difference between football and rugby. Different set of rules.
I see a lot of friends coming from traditional media or traditional media transition really nodding their heads to you, Alexei. But Yi, you want to put in something? I will have the other two respond. It's just to be fair a discussion. Please.
我觉得新闻的真实性，这是作为专业的
I
新
think
闻
the
机构
authenticity of news is something we have to stick to. This is the basics of journalism. Another thing we should pay attention to is that users are becoming more and more stronger and stronger. So we have to interact with the users. For example, we come here in Chongqing. Chongqing is a city famous for international sensations. There is a tourist attraction called Hongyadong. It's being covered by a lot of media on the internet. And during the National Day holiday, a lot of people went to the tourist attraction Hongyadong, including a lot of media content producers. And on CCTV News, on CGTN, on platforms like us, what we are trying to do. We are reporting how beautiful the tourist attraction is, and how many people are over there, and how big is the flux, and you have to pay attention to your safety.
And probably in the future we're going to work in collaboration with the local government in pushing geographic information services, letting people 5 kilometers away that there is already a lot of people reasons do not go there for such a period of time. And this is part of our responsibility as professional news media.
We have lots of information on all sides, so that you don't have to search everywhere in order to reach a conclusion. Qi, do you agree with that?
In fact, a lot of successful self-media have professional background that contributes to their success. For instance, there are doctors who work through media to help the others. They are professionally trained. So I don't think we're doing we media justice by simply calling them or labeling them as unprofessionals. But when it comes to traffic, there is a competition between us versus we media. And when it comes to this, I think the attitude of a platform becomes very, very important. For instance, in the past. Please do not speak so fast, because today we have simultaneous interpretation, because we have in the past a digital influencer. He's a bungee jumper. He's uploaded a lot of videos showing how he does that, but Weibo, the platform he uploaded videos to, deleted all that. The first time he noticed, I think Weibo has this responsibility to patrol the virtual space to make sure the content is secondly, we also provide space to dispel rumors. For instance, if a self-media have published news or rumors, then space for media organizations after verification to verify that it is fake news, and then mark as this fake news, which can be deleted so as the news further.
And it's already having a deep and probably irreversible impact on the people and the things that rumor have been about. So that is a big collection to a river. Is the story of the story.
我觉得这有两方面去看，就是谣言不可能中。
I think it's possible to create rumors because rumors are there, but we do not want to be the. We do not want to spread rumors. So the way to do this is to let the rumor spreaders understand that this is very serious, and secondly, we want to make sure everyone who has read the rumor knows that it is a rumor. This is very important, and also there's cooperation between traditional media and new media. For instance, earlier this morning there's news that a kid in Inner Mongolia who's gravely ill, who needed to be transported from Inner Mongolia to a hospital in Beijing, and CCTV noticed that, and as a result, help was arranged, and the CCTV provided coverage for the entire process, and also worked in collaboration with a lot of other we media professionals to spread the news. As you can see, this is a collaboration between we media and the CCTV. First, there's a report from CCTV which provides authenticity and credibility, and then there's a we media which extends the spread of coverage. Well, that is a very good cooperation. Sally, 你对补充吗？请。
do think it's very dangerous for us to set this up as a competition. I mean, the energy and the new voices that are brought into the news gathering process are incredibly important to news organizations. And I think that if as a legacy news organization we were to view this as a competition or a threat, that's exactly the wrong way to look at it. I mean, the methods and the ability to bring news into the news gathering process and just to get a broader swath of information from sources that are not traditional sources we use is enormously valuable. And I just absolutely refuse to view this as a competition. I think it is different strengths that different groups are bringing that we can learn from each other about. And that, I think that's the healthiest and probably the most growth-oriented way to look at this.
Are you saying you're not standing together with Alexei anymore?
No, I do totally stand in Michael Jackson is dead or alive. There's no question. But those are the values that we bring to this conversation. And I just think it's very dangerous for traditional media to think that we have all the answers. Let me put it that way. I think we need to be open to the energy and the change that is happening while holding dear to the values that we do deeply believe in. Some of this is about presentation and the way we disseminate news, not so much the underlying values.
Exactly. Yeah. Yusen?
I completely agree with what Sally has said. I believe as a legacy organization, legacy media professionals, we have to hold dear very true to our conviction, and this is also the philosophy that of ours in doing our project, because we have gained our prior experience, we have built our professional capacity for content producer, in particular individual content creator. We need to provide them with more help to help them get better, to help them get a better trained professionally. I think this benefits them and that benefits us as well. And secondly, a lot of people say the development of We Media has presented has created adverse impact on us, especially from a revenue perspective. But I come from a legacy media organization, but I am also leveraging on the advantage of We Media by developing a partnership with them. So I don't think we as a legacy media organization have become a concept that has been outdated. I think we, as long as we kept the trend, we still can thrive. Alexei.
It's also about the content side and the business side of news. When you see We Media, if I am running a We Media, let's just say a blog, I could well easily put on whatever information that I want, the established reputation that I've had over the years, combining both commercial and probably news content together. However, traditional news organizations, even today with CGTN, Mr. Jiang have been repeatedly informing us that we have to separate the content and the business. So traditional media and comprehensive media like CGTN in transition have been very much abiding the rule that different the content and the commercial side. What do you make of that? That the line has already blurred for the other side. Well, your organizations are still following very closely that rule.
That's right.
And you could fall into big trouble if you're not, by the way.
That's just another good example that you cannot play when you're not allowed to grasp the ball, to play with the hand against the people who are allowed to play with the hand. Whatever we do, CGTN or Associated Press or Appley or RT or Reuters or Fox News, all the gentlemen and ladies who are present here, we have strict standard. Editorial content is separated from commercial content. And all our audience, people who listen to us and watch us, know that. While we look at the social media, at the blog, it may be an excellent blog. I welcome them bringing new agenda, new subjects. But I'm never sure whether a particular report is being sponsored by someone, whether a certain company is being mentioned. Is it because someone sponsored the trip?
But do you think advertisers, as a result, walk away from you because the other side could be very flexible? While dealing with you guys are difficult to deal with. Always say content and commercial side different.
It's a problem, absolutely. It's getting more and more difficult. quality news is becoming more and more difficult to finance itself.
Right.
That's everyone's problem.
Should that line be blurred? 我们还需要坚守过去曾经大家一直认为非常重要的一些框架的这样的一种像信任吗？或者一些标准吗？
我觉得这是我们所必须坚守的。其实也就是说，我们作为主流媒体的新闻人，哪怕是我们
professional
是新媒体
reporter from a
我们所坚守的
legacy media organization, I think what we're here is to indicate the relationship between news and the people, news and the age and time that we're living in, and we're also there to convey the message of the value created by news. Sure, we are leveraging on the power of a new media, but we still need to abide by those rules. So rugby still be football is still football, rugby still be rugby. I mean, we can learn new skills as a footballer, but we need to follow the rules when we participate in competition. 也就是说呢，中国足球。
I mean, I completely agree that there are some red lines that absolutely must be.
You cannot completely agree with everything your colleague
I would just say one thing, that I think there is sometimes confusion between in our news organizations, the line between sales and what you're referring to as commercial and the editorial product obviously needs to stay very strong. The only disagreement that I have is that doesn't mean that the news people can't learn to present news in more accessible and modern ways. And I do think that there's been a little bit of, if my news people talk to products people about, I don't know, write your story shorter or do the photos vertically versus horizontally, I'm not sure that impacts editorial product. It doesn't impact editorial purity. And I do think that, you know, we are talking about holding on to the accuracy and the credibility and the fact base of our journalism. We should not be debating that we need to present that journalism in more modern ways. That is clearly true, and that does not, in my view, impact the credibility of the journalism.
Well, since you are saying you're a journalist, together with your colleague at the AP, there could be people like earlier our colleague from Fox News, and they're saying we are journalists as well. So you clearly see there are already very different editorial policies regarding media journalization and the RT and CGTN as well. So it seems that you have already very different standards, very different ways of looking at things. So why are you asking we media to be that different from all of you guys? Is it fair, Sally?
As I said, I think they bring. I think that there's a lot of energy and a lot of interesting exploration that's going on that is incredibly valuable to our industry.
Okay, and Alexei, you want to add anything?
No. Now it's my turn to say I completely agree. We're using.
This is a rare opportunity, gentlemen. RT and AP are standing on the same line, at least on the journalism ethics.
We're playing in the same football league.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. I wouldn't put any words into any of your mouths, but anyway, let's have from the new media, so-called new media. 来，玉森，你 respond 一下他们刚才说的哈。
我觉得，对我们这个产品来讲，我们是严格区隔商业和内容的，因为我们的内容要求很强，很高的准确度，包括你的客观性，所以跟商业的，它有一道防火墙的。我们内部设了一道防火墙。但是我也很同意刚才美人同事讲的这种话，他说这个还是更好的表达形式。你有更好的表达形式的话，你在商业上可以创造更多的可能性。那这个就是可以解决你的商业问题。
OK。
我觉得在新媒体应该，无论是传统媒体和自媒体，更应该做好的内容能够为所用。因为媒体的生产环节，尤其是在内容产和内容制作环节，已经把 UGC 跟 PGC 很多的时候融入在一起。因为央视新闻有好多直播都是来自于
integrated. A lot of the news feeds from the CCTV is already coming from the police department.
Very well. I came into the room today. What about your own example?
那你自己的例子呢？
然后第二个观点呢是在现在。
The second point is, and now inevitably, video has become the trend to go. Even for people's daily, they have already focused more on content. In fact, during their coverage of NPC and PPC session, already 57% of the content is presented in video. Having said though, I think we can incorporate while it needs to abide. We need to abide by the principles. It needs to learn from the we media to see how to attract users. 很有意思的讨论。我们现在还有5分钟。
Just to be fair, so our audience could also ask questions. And by the way, we have real professionals sitting in the audience. They are asking much smarter questions than I just did on the stage. So, 我们现在给我们台下的
And now the floor is open to questions. We've got 5 minutes. 能不能提一个建议？
Say who you are, come from where, and ask your question. We do not tend to do a 2-minute speech. And we collect the questions together and let you guys to respond to that directly. Okay, that will save a lot of time. 好吗？这样可以吗？
我的嘉宾一起来回答。
我们有这个希望有
Anyone?
问题的来举手，示意一下。
Please raise your
那边
hand
那一
if
位，
you would like to ask a question.
其他人可以举手示意啊。我们还可以把话筒
You
给
can
到
keep raising your hands if you would like to
您
ask
好，
a
如果
question.
您不介意，可以站起来吗？这样
If you
大家
don't
可以
mind,
看到。
would you
说
like
一下
to
你是
stand up
谁，
so we
问出
can
您
see
的问
you,
题，谢谢。
identify yourself and ask your question.
话筒推一下。
Microphone, please.
听到吗？好，大家好，我是
Good morning. I'm from Singapore United Morning Newspaper.
现在在研究立法，
We are studying the possibility of legislation in order to prevent fake news from happening. I'm not sure what's your opinion on that legislation. Do you think this is the way going forward? And some people would argue that legislation would put constraints on the freedom of expression.
还有问问题吗？
Any more
可以举手
questions?
看得到吗？
Please raise your hand. I can see you.
好 ，OK，David， good to see you.
David Schlesinger, I'm the former
我名字叫做
an independent consultant. With respect, we've been having similar conversations about new media versus old media for a decade or more. Do you think that we will still have to be having this same kind of conversation 10 years from now?
I hope our conversation earlier is a little bit different from the conversation you had, let's just say 2 days ago. Okay? But anyway, thank you so much, David, for that thoughtful question. And any other? 还有那边还有一位，我们的同事可以给到吗？话筒。那位女士，您再举一下手，让他看。哎，好，谢谢。
Thank you.
Same conversation or not the whole time?
大家好，我是 Storyful 的 Sophia Xu。
I'm from Storyful. My name is Sophia Xu. We talked a lot about WeMedia and UGC content and the legacy organizations. We have been sticking to one thing for a long time, that is verification. We verify UGC content and we hand it over to our media friends for them to use. So for so many years, not only us but also CGTN and other platforms, what we have been doing is to try to verify the news we received. So my question is, do we have the responsibility to educate everyone? 我们有没有义务去教育每一个人？
There are so many different ways to get information. So do you think there are new ways for us to help everybody get the skills of verification, and what is our responsibility for society?
Thank you very much. Are we wasting our time doing verification? What exactly should be the so-called responsibility of media organizations like yours, whether new media so-called or traditional media so-called? Okay, let's do the first question. Attack against fake news vis-a-vis so-called freedom of expression. Sally, briefly.
This is the law question. Yeah. Is that correct?
Yeah.
The question about the law. I mean, obviously, the situation varies dramatically in different parts of the world, and the phrase fake news has become both something that we talk about factually and also sort of a political weapon that some governments are using. So I think it's very difficult to say in any particular country what the solution should be. Generally speaking, I think that the best way that this can be sorted is by news organizations sticking to factual news and being transparent about their methods and telling their audiences how they are verifying news. And generally not in favor of legislation, but can't speak about any specifics.
Right, Alexei, and then E.
Well, I have a simple answer to this question. My answer is no. As big as the temptation may seem to take just one good law or two good laws and then take care of the unauthentic news or false news or fake news or whatever you call them, it's the wrong way. It has been taken, I don't know whether many people here are aware of that, but this year we celebrate the Jubilee, 375 years since the first act of censorship has been created in the UK, in England, and it didn't do much good. It was created with very good intentions, and it did much. So my answer is, with all the problems and all the bad sides, no. No.
Law will not take care of it. The process is going to be very messy, as you said. Okay, E.
我回答第二个问题吧。我觉得在
I would like to answer the second question. Even in 10 years' time, maybe the summit, the forum, will still discuss the relevant issues pertaining to new media, media, and the traditional media, because they will both continue to exist.
Absolutely, we will still be having these discussions in new ways 10 years from now. I do not personally see, and we try to talk with our journalists about the idea that this chaos is not going away and being, you know, if you say to people, oh, this is going to get sorted out in the next 10 years, that's, I think, a pretty misleading thing to say.
Okay, what about the last question coming from the lady over there saying, verification or not, the fake news or whatever, rumor is going to be there anyway. So, are you wasting your time to verify, or should you take much better advantage of the time just to get out the real news? 我们问这两位吧。来，于森，要不然你先来，然后于琦。
我觉得验证是必须的吧，因为我觉得你就像你可能你现在天气冷了，你穿件衣服，你要不要穿呢？你总要穿的了，能穿件衣服总是好的。那我觉得它能做一些保护，总是有价值的。我觉得有验证是必须的。
好，气。
我也觉得，既然假消息没有办法完全杜绝，那就一定要做更多有意义的事情去做验证，或者是尽可能的去不让假消息去做。
News will stop fake news from distribution. Last round. 每人一句话告诉我。
With all today's discussion and years to come, by the way, what kind of organization do you want your platform to be? I think that's a fair question for everybody. Shall we start from E? Shall we? Okay.
I hope my CCTV news platform can become the platform one can think of immediately when there is anything important.
Completely legacy and old-fashioned in our values, that we believe in facts, and we want to be completely modern and cutting edge in our presentation.
Beautiful combination. Qi.
我希望微博在
我们成为一个更好的结合。I hope Weibo can be still a very powerful platform for disseminating information. The users will be more strong. I hope our platform can be a credible platform, a platform to be trusted by the public. For users, I hope they can trust us. For content producers, I hope we can be reliable as well. 最后一位。
Well, RT has always been proud for being different, and we intend to be different and be a good player in our football league.
It's great to be different, even among all of us. Thank you so much, our panelists. 非常感谢。
Thank you, Tianwei. Thank you. Thank you very much. Hello, thank you very much, Tianwei. Wonderful job, indeed fascinating, and many thanks to our panelists. You can take a break, and we're going to take a break as well. Concerning this topic, just a very quick question. Is the space on the internet limited? Do we have to be shouting out each other? Maybe not so much. Because I want to say, in terms of food, in terms of ice cream, we all have ever-growing appetite, and we have red pepper ice cream present today for you, or salted duck egg ice cream. And they're not made by professional ice cream players, they're makers. They're made by we ice cream players. So who said we have to be against each other? We can work together and have more appetizing ice cream. So ladies and gentlemen, 20-minute or 15-minute rather, tea break, and I'll see you back here in just a moment. Enjoy yourselves. See you later.
Discussing how to produce compelling content, align media platforms, protect data, and harness the power of new tech. Join us for the CGTN Global Media Summit and VMF 2018. Opening and connecting the world, CGTN's annual Media Summit, exploring the latest trends, opportunities, and challenges, discussing how to produce compelling content, align media platforms, protect data, and harness the power of new tech. Join us for the CGTN Global Media Summit and VMF 2018. Opening and connecting the world, CGTN's annual Media Summit, exploring the latest trends, opportunities, and challenges, discussing how to produce compelling content, align media platforms, protect data, and harness the power of new tech. Join us for the CGTN Global Media Summit and VMF 2018. Opening and connecting the world, CGTN's annual Media Summit, exploring the latest trends, opportunities, and challenges, discussing how to produce compelling content, align media platforms, protect data, and harness the power of new tech. Join us for the CGTN Global Media Summit and VMF 2018. Opening and connecting the world, CGTN's annual Media Summit, exploring the latest trends, opportunities, and challenges, discussing how to produce compelling content, align media platforms, protect data, and harness the power of new tech. Join us for...
Hello, you're still watching CGTN Global Media Summit held in Chongqing City. I am CGTN reporter He Weiwei. And today, this morning, is the opening ceremony of the Global Media Summit held by CGTN China Global Television Network. And now it's the tea break time, and as you can see, this place outside the main meeting venue is full of people. Actually, they are all guests invited by CGTN. This is over 500 guests and experts and scholars from leading about very diversified topics. For example, the future of media development, and also how we can seize the opportunity and how we can face challenges in the future. And